all the way through. So, even though these translations are not really the Quran, but they give you the meaning of the verses in the Quran. There are different interpreters, of course, and they may be different. But if you compare the translation in the different Quran, and if they are similar, you can assume that it is a correct interpretation. If they are different, of course, we can reject. But if you learn the Quran in a language you understand, then you will understand what Islam is all about. Everything is given in the Quran. You want to do business? The way you weigh is given in the Quran. The way you distribute the inheritance and all that is given in the Quran. Your behavior, your word is something that you must honor. Once you make a promise, you have to honor that promise. All these things are good things which are found in the Quran, which we neglect to read, but follow what the teachers say. And sometimes we have leaders, like the leaders of IS, for example, they will quote profusely the Quran, and then they translate it in a different way. If you know what is the contents of the Quran, then you will know that he is not telling the truth. That is why it is important for us, if you want to be a good Muslim, to understand the Quran in a language that you can understand. To read the Quran in English or in Malay gives you more guidance than to read the Quran in Arabic or to memorize the Quran. Well, today we have many schools set up by people who wants to earn merit, of course. Sekolah Tahfiz, where young boys and girls learn to memorize the contents of the Quran. Why is it that we are doing that? Historically, it was because there are not too many copies of the Quran. In the time just after the death of the Prophet, there were not many printed Quran. Most Quran were written by hand. In a village, for example, there could be just one Quran. If that Quran is lost or burnt because of some fire, then you will lose the contents of the Quran. That's why it is wajib to have somebody who can memorize the Quran. If the Quran is lost, there's somebody who can repeat all the verses. But today, we produce millions of copies of the Quran. The need to memorize is no longer as important as it was in the past. What is more important is to understand the teachings of the Quran, to be a guide to us, so we can live the life of a Muslim. And believe me, if you read the Quran, you will get ample guidance for whatever it is that you do. And you will be successful. That is my belief. I think this is not normally taught in schools or by the ulama, who generally likes to refer to these hadiths and that hadith and some kitab written by somebody who's a well-known scholar and all that. But here in the Quran, just near you is the right guidance. You don't have to listen to all these people who sometimes have different agenda, even political agenda. And when they have political agenda, their interpretation is not correct. So I found out in the Quran that Islam does not encourage polygamy. But they always tell us that Islam okays polygamy. But if you read the Quran, it says there You can marry 2, 3, or 4, but if you cannot do justice to them, marry only one. And the following verse says, and man cannot do justice to women. Now when you take the two things together, you must conclude that you are asked to marry only one. But of course the people who teach us would like to marry more than one. They don't mention the second part, nor do they mention that it is 2, 3, or 4 if you can be just to them. So you can see when you ask somebody else to teach you, they don't teach you the whole thing. They teach the parts that they like and not the parts that they don't like. Because I don't know how many people are here with 2 wives. I'm so sorry. My apologies. I once told this to an Arab group who gave me lunch, and I said that you shouldn't marry more than one, and somebody nudged me and said, 3 wives. You see, Islam, the Quran teaches us all the good things that you must do. When you follow it, you will never go wrong. The early Muslims followed it, and therefore they have succeeded in life. They produced all those scientists and mathematicians in the past, but no longer. Now we have a mathematician who downloads 30,000 pornographic literature and things like that. Because they don't study Quran. They don't, you know, when you are taught religion in school, it is not about ad-din, a way of life. It's about rituals. You pray, you fast, you zakat, you give zakat, and you perform the hajj. And if you pray up to only what is wajib for you, that's not enough. You must continue and pray some more. There are a lot of prayers that you can pray. In fact, in one of the schools, at night when the students after prayers were supposed to be doing their homework, the religious teacher says, no, after prayers you must repeat this, that, and the other, and the whole night was spent repeating those things, and they never do their homework. Why? It is because when a religious teacher says something, the headmaster or the headmistress dare not say anything against the headmaster, or you will be accused of being a non-Muslim. Now, we have reached a stage where we want to Islamize everything. We have Islamic science, we have a lot of Islamic mathematics, I suppose, when 2 + 2 makes 5 or something like that. I don't know, but to me, calling it Islamic does not make any difference. Science is science. Hydrogen and oxygen will make water, whether it is Islamic or not Islamic. Do you have water that is Islamic, that is made up of different molecules or different atoms of oxygen and hydrogen? I think not. But we are so concerned about Islamization. And we look into all the things that we practice today to see whether they are Islamic or not. Now, just before Christmas last year, somebody announced that it is un-Islamic. It is wrong for a Muslim to say Merry Christmas. I have been saying this for ages. I think most people, Muslims, have been saying to their Christian friend, Merry Christmas. It doesn't make him a Christian just because he says Merry Christmas. But once this pronouncement was made, there was hesitation. People dare not say Merry Christmas because this is haram. So these people are always looking at your behavior, what you do, to see how less Islam they are. And of course, they make a pronouncement, which is regarded by us all as fatwa. Now fatwa is merely an opinion. It is not a law. But in Malaysia, a fatwa is a law. You can be dragged to the court and accused of being anti-hadith because of this fatwa. It's not a part of the law of the country or even the Sharia. It's just the opinion of some people. You know that when we make a law in this country, it has to go through many processes. First, it has to be studied, the need for it, and then drafted, and then it's put before the cabinet must agree, cabinet must then present the law before the parliament, there is a long debate, it may be changed, it may be rejected, or it may be accepted, and then after that it goes to the Dewan Negara. After the Dewan Negara has accepted it, then it goes to the king, who must sign it to make it law, the law of the country. But in the case of fatwa, just anybody can give an opinion, saying Merry Christmas is un-Islamic, and it becomes the law. It becomes a law. Everybody has to follow it, otherwise you feel that you have sinned. It's just a pronouncement. There are many of these fatwas which are today rejected. When I was a small boy, I remember the time when there was this fatwa that electric light cannot be used in a mosque. Electric light is an invention of the kafir, so it cannot be used in the mosque. Today you see our mosque with chandeliers and all that. We have rejected that. Then there is this fatwa that the cottage, the casket carrying the body of a dead person, Muslim, cannot be carried in a motorized vehicle. This motorized vehicle is an invention of the kafir. So we cannot put it on a motorized vehicle. And I myself witnessed the funeral of Tunku Ibrahim, region of Kedah. It was put on a wheel carriage, pulled by 2 ropes by a number of people, all the way from Anak Bukit down to Alostar, Jalan Day, and up to Langgar. Pulled, because you cannot use motorized vehicle. Today, just imagine pulling that across Kuala Lumpur to Jalan Ampang. It's not practical. Today we use motorized vehicle and we never feel that we are sinning or doing anything, but at one time it was a sin. There was a time when there was a fatwa that a pig cap cannot be worn by Muslim soldiers. And the army of the Ottoman Sultan, upon being asked to wear a pig cap, revolted. Why? Because with a pig cap, you cannot pray. Your your forehead cannot touch the ground. So that is haram. Pig caps are haram. And you know that in Malaysia, we have people who wear caps without pigs. Do you know where? The Sultan of Johor has a cap, no pig. The Sultan of Kelantan also has a cap, round thing, no pig. Because wearing a cap with pig makes it impossible for you to pray. Well, the simple thing is take it off. Today, of course, no one asks this question because today we disregard this fatwa. Even tight trousers before, you must have baggy trousers. The Turkish soldiers used to have baggy trousers. And when they were asked to wear Western style trousers, which are more tight fitting, there was a revolt among the Janissaries. But now, of course, nobody cares about that anymore. Or for that matter, there was a time when portraits, paintings of human beings and animals are forbidden, is haram. But today, how do you stop people from taking selfies? You know, You see the picture, and the picture talks to you and moves. You can't stop that anymore. But actually what is meant is that you cannot make portraits and sculptures and all that and worship it. Because the ancient Arab, the Jahiliyyah, used to worship Uzza and Lat, which are stones of funny shapes. And they thought that it was their god, and they used to worship this. And if you have a stone carved in the form of a human being, the Jahiliyyah Arab, the ignorant Arabs would worship it. But today we are not going to worship the pictures, even if it is the picture of the Prime Minister or something like that. I mean, during my time, they didn't worship me. I was very disappointed.